This week on ANN, a mining accident in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais causes the state's worst environmental disaster.
International leaders discuss the role of religious values in driving positive economic development.
And an Adventist church in the U.S. state of Michigan is vandalized in what investigators are calling a religious biased incident.
These stories and more coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church.
Thanks so much for joining us this week.
More than 250,000 people in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais are left without drinking water as the state continues to face a major environmental crisis. Earlier this month, 2 dams operated by a private mining company failed, causing a massive toxic mudslide to go into the Rio Doce River and make its way to the Atlantic Ocean. The result of the mudslide have killed 9 people and left 19 missing and displaced 500 people. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in Brazil has mobilized efforts to distribute water to families in the state's most affected areas.
As the world's political and economic leaders met for the G20 Economic Forum in Turkey last week, religious leaders also gathered to highlight the major role that faith plays on the global stage. The G20 Interfaith Summit was the second time religious leaders held a tandem meeting to the G20 Forum. The event brought together academics, public leaders, and representatives from a broad range of faith groups, including Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus. The purpose of the summit was to explore the role religion and religious values play in driving positive economic development. Ganun Diop, Director of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty for the Seventh-day Adventist Church, represented the denomination during the summit and gave a presentation on the final day of the 3-day meeting. According to Diop, it is vital that Adventists be a part of the conversation at an international level. He said, quote, "As Jesus' followers, Adventists cannot exist in isolation. We're connected with humanity, and we stand in solidarity with the world that aches with injustice and suffering of many different kinds."
Police in the western region of the U.S. state of Michigan are searching for the people responsible for vandalizing a church. Last week, the words "God is a lie" and "Thank God for Satan" were spray painted on the Bell Green Seventh-day Adventist Church. Investigators are treating the incident as a religiously biased crime.
Adventist schools in the U.S. state of Minnesota recently reported a decrease of bullying incidents thanks to the implementation of a program through La Sierra University. The university's Center for Conflict Resolution offers the internationally acclaimed Always Bullying Prevention Program. The program is designed for students between the ages of 5 to 15 and aims to address and mitigate bullying. It also offers intervention for students who are targets of bullying or students who engage in bullying others. The program also works to engage bystanders in preventing and reporting bullying behavior. Last year, the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Minnesota began the year-long pilot program for the church leaders, teachers, and students in an effort to create a consistently positive experience in the schools. Connie McCormick, Director of Education for the Adventist Church in Minnesota, said, quote, "We wanted to guarantee every Adventist school as an especially safe place for students and teachers, but we knew that not all had that experience. The hurt that some students felt was the negating the effect of Christian education," end quote. Recently, school leaders were happy to report that incidents of verbal bullying and other types of bullying fell from 17% to 3.38%, yielding an 80% drop.
While Thanksgiving is an official holiday in the United States, some would argue that the following Black Friday and Cyber Monday after Thanksgiving are unofficial holidays. Both days offer consumers the opportunity to find unbeatable deals as they prepare for the Christmas holiday. But there's another holiday that brings up the rear of this 4-day stretch that focuses on helping others rather than catching a great deal for yourself. Giving Tuesday is a time to celebrate generosity and to give to charitable organizations for noteworthy causes. For this year's Giving Tuesday, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency will focus on meeting the needs of refugees migrating through Europe during the cold months. Erica St. Louis, ADRA's digital media strategist, has more.
So for Giving Tuesday, all the funds are going directly to help the refugees in Europe. And what we're doing, we're raising money to provide coats and gloves and all the winter essentials that they need to survive the winter. It's getting cold in Europe right now, and so we're working really aggressively to provide the things that they need to survive. They can go to adra.org to give directly to the refugees for 24 hours on Giving Tuesday, December 1st. That's our big push for Giving Tuesday.
The governor of the U.S. state of South Carolina recently applauded the work of an Adventist outreach organization that met the needs of residents who were affected by record-breaking flooding that took place in the state last month. When Governor Nikki Haley visited the affected counties, she asked volunteers of Adventist Community Services to join her and to also assist her in distributing flood relief supply buckets that were collected by the organization. The flood buckets were received from the Allegheny East region of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. After the distribution, the governor personally thanked all of the ACS volunteers for operating its distribution warehouse during the crisis.
The Adventist Development and Relief Agency in Western Australia is currently making provisions for residents affected by recent bushfires in the Esperance region. The fires have caused 500 people to lose power and has forced more than 300 people to evacuate their homes. The fires also claimed the lives of at least 4 people. Terry Johnson, president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Western Australia, spoke on how the fires have affected the Adventist community in the region. He said, quote, "We are aware of 3 deaths connected with one of our farmer families." He went on to say, quote, "There are several other farming families from our church who may have lost their homes and property. Our church minister, Pastor Brad Thomas, is in regular contact with all affected members," end quote. Johnson also noted that Adventist schools in the area are working to find ways to support residents in the affected areas of the region.
When members of the Brayton Seventh-day Adventist Church in Jamaica realized that a number of residents couldn't attend the church's annual health fair due to financial reasons, the church organized efforts to bring the services directly into communities. The church recently launched its first mobile medical and dental clinic, which sits on a 23-foot flatbed truck. Many medical and national leaders attended the dedication service of the clinic and commended the local church for going above and beyond to reach the community. Dr. Patrick Rutherford, CEO of the Adventist Memorial Hospital, who was a guest speaker for the event, told the members, quote, "You have done something great, and I look forward to partnering with you to show the love of Jesus to the community," end quote. And the Honorable Fitz Jackson, a member of Parliament for the South Catherine region of the nation, praised the church for not only helping the community, but for assisting the nation's government. He said, quote, "What your church has been doing in the area of health service provision is most welcome by me and the government, because what the government does is not enough and will not be enough. What you do assists in taking the burden off public hospitals," end quote. The clinic has its own electrical generating and water systems and contains 3 offices, 2 for basic medical services and 1 for dental services.
Adventist church leaders last week celebrated the expansion of the Hong Kong Adventist Hospital with a brand new 25-story hospital building. Leaders say the $219 million building will significantly expand Adventist healthcare services, especially since that church has found that the most effective way to share Jesus' love is through the healing work of its 2 local hospitals. A major focus of the new center will be preventive medicine, which will help people live healthily through improved diet, rest, and exercise. According to the Adventist Review, speakers at the opening ceremony underscored public health statistics that show a majority of illnesses are caused by non-communicative diseases linked to poor lifestyle choices. The Hong Kong Adventist Hospital is the only private hospital that serves a district of 1.5 million residents. The expansion will allow the hospital to treat 1,000 outpatients a day and increase the number of beds from 120 to 470. 20% of the beds will be reserved for low-income patients referred from public hospitals.
A group of Pathfinders from central Mexico are thanking God for traveling mercies after surviving what could have been a deadly accident. While the Pathfinders were on their way to a camporee, the brakes for the bus they were traveling in suddenly gave out and caused the driver to lose control of the bus. The group's leader, Sergio Cruz Robles, feared the worst as he heard the bus driver tell everyone to hold on. Cruz said, quote, "But I saw the hand of God because the bus just went on its side, as if to just lay down softly on the side without having a strong impact." The kids only received scratches and bumps in the accident, end quote. While the Pathfinders were looking forward to participating in the camporee and were disappointed when they had to return home, they were very grateful for God's protection.
Leaders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Eurasia recently celebrated the opening of the first Adventist church in northern Siberia. The church is located in the city of Nyagan with a population of 56,000 people and is located approximately 1,550 miles or 2,500 kilometers northeast of Moscow. The opening of the church is an answer to prayer that's been petitioned for more than 2 decades. Vasily Stefanoviv, president of the Adventist Church in Western Siberia, spoke about how Adventist members in the region who live a long ways from each other fellowshipped and worshiped together in homes as they, quote, dreamed about having their own church, a modest place to worship, end quote. During the dedication ceremony, Adventists traveled from the nearest town, some up to 300 miles or 500 kilometers from Nyagan, to attend the service. There are 31 Seventh-day Adventist congregations in Western Siberia with more than 1,100 members.
Ted Wilson, president of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church, and Dan Jackson, president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in North America, recently met with leaders of regional territories in the United States to discuss ways to reach urban communities. The discussion took place with the presidents of the 9 regional conferences in the nation. Regional conferences are church associations that have historically represented African American congregations in the eastern United States. The leaders shared how health centers, vegetarian restaurants, community services, and other outreach methods can expand efforts to share Jesus with urban centers and inner-city residents. Wilson expressed his confidence in the regional conferences and explained the potential to reach even more people with their holistic approach to sharing the gospel. He went on to say, quote, their contribution to the ongoing proclamation of the 3 angels' message in large cities and rural areas has been a strong evangelistic outreach of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in North America and around the world.
2 Adventist healthcare hospitals in the U.S. state of Maryland recently received recognition from the leading accreditor of healthcare organizations in the country. The Joint Commission named Shady Grove Medical Center and Washington Adventist Hospital as top performers on the key quality measures for the year 2014. This is the third year in a row the hospitals have received this recognition. In order to receive such a distinction, a hospital has to meet at least 95% compliance with evidence-based practices that are used to improve patient outcomes. Shady Grove Medical Center and Washington Adventist Hospital were the only 2 hospitals in the state to receive the distinction. Terry Ford, president and CEO of Adventist Healthcare, expressed his gratitude for the recognition of the hospital's compassionate quality care they provide for patients. He said, quote, receiving this distinction for the 3rd consecutive year reflects the hard work and dedication of our employees and physicians to make all of our entities great places to receive care.
A student from an Adventist school in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania made it to the final round of a national cooking contest through a popular food company. Jackson, representing Mountain View Seventh-day Adventist School, and his family are one of the 25 finalists in the Uncle Ben's Beginners Contest. Uncle Ben's is a prominent food company that specializes in various types of rice. The company recently launched the contest to help promote healthier eating habits in the kitchen among children. The contest consists of making a healthy dish using Uncle Ben's rice. Jackson, who casts himself as Uncle Ben Boy in his video entry, shows how to make haystacks with his superpowers. Out of the 25 families, 5 families will win $15,000 and have a $30,000 cafeteria makeover for the child's school.
And finally, the news this week. For the month of November, men grow out their facial hair in an effort to raise awareness for various men's health issues, including prostate cancer, poor mental health, and physical inactivity. Men either grow out their mustaches for Movember or grow out all of their facial hair for No Shave November. So I decided to take a little adventure around the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church to see who else participated in this important cause. November. In the United States, it starts to get a little cold. Winter is coming upon us. So it's a good time to warm up and maybe grow some facial hair. You can see I'm working on it. But there's some people that do it for a good cause. But first I got to work on this. Okay, that's better, and a better tie too. So Now I'm going to go and talk to some people in the building here at the General Conference to see if they are growing their beards to support this cause, men's health issues, and to get some tips for, maybe see if I can get a better beard. Doesn't feel like it's really filled in. Let's go see who'll talk to us. You can see I can't really get it full. I was thinking of getting a Sharpie to fill in. How did you get your beard to, what, do you use products? What do you do?
I use no products whatsoever. Basically, it's just not cutting it.
Okay, that's perfect. So it's No Shave November, David, and you're supporting men's health issues with your beard?
No.
I actually started early. I started in January. This is more of a midlife crisis for me.
Midlife crisis?
I turned 40 this year, and I can't afford the sports car, so this is the direction that I went.
You know, I realized after a while that November was coming up and that there's this whole campaign and stuff. I'm not against it. I just figure I planned early and unintentionally.
It worked out great.
It did.
Any tips for me for growing it out?
Let it grow.
Just let it grow.
Let it be. Let it go wild.
I will do that. What do you do to get that beard?
Well, you know, I get a good night's rest. That's a big part of filling out your beard is getting a good night's rest, and that's about all I got.
Try and grow a beard. Go away. So now you have a great beard. I'm trying. I've been working on this 2 weeks and it's kind of still needs some help. What are some tips for growing a good beard?
I don't know. Just let it grow. The thing is, when I was your age, I couldn't grow a beard to save my life. And so it's just something you have to get old to.
Dr. Peter Landless, I've been told by my producer I have to be serious in this part of the story. So we're going to be serious a little bit. But
I would have thought you were serious in all parts of the story.
I try, but I sometimes can't. But we'll try now. So we're talking, November is a time when we raise awareness to men's health issues, such as testicular cancer, mental health issues, a lack of exercise. Why is this important?
Men have this uncanny ability or problem in that they are so macho that they do not talk about their health. They think that they're never going to get sick. They don't confide about issues which are worrying to them. And so they're not as faithful in follow-up as many women are. And that's been not only my experience in practice, but this has been the experience of many people and shown also in studies. And it's important to bring awareness to the fact that men do need regular follow-ups. They need to be checked on. They need to be aware of the issues related to exercise, to having regular rectal examinations. You know, that's something which men really don't.
So what can we do to motivate men to go to see their doctors, get these checkups?
They need to understand that one of the reasons for checkups is to prevent problems from being bad when they're diagnosed. So if you can have an ongoing understanding of what your prostate health is, testicular size, etc., consistency, those are all very important. So basically to get them to understand that the single most important factor which contributes to longevity is a regular exercise program. And so what it is really is that it's helping people to understand that you are drawing attention to something because it's important to you, that others realize how important it should be to them.
To watch the full video, visit news.adventist.org. We'll be right back with our weekly features.
It was around noon when Peter went up to the roof to pray. It was here that Peter had a vision about a large sheet containing a mix of unclean animals, representing God's affirmation of the diversity of peoples in the growing church.
We had heard that Peter was staying at the house of Simon the tanner and were instructed by Cornelius the centurion to go out and find him.
While Peter was still thinking about the vision, the Holy Spirit told him to go downstairs because 3 men were looking for him. Peter went down and told the men that he was the one they were looking for.
We then told Peter that Cornelius the centurion had been told by an angel that Peter would come and see him at his house. So, unbeknown to Peter, Cornelius was already expecting his visit to Caesarea.
What happened here was quite unusual, just the fact that Peter entered the house. Remember that it was against the law for a Jew to associate with or visit a Gentile.
Cornelius told Peter how 3 days earlier he had been praying in his house when an angel had appeared before him.
Peter shared with Cornelius his new understanding that God does not show favoritism and is the Lord of all. This was a real turning point. From this point on, the gospel was also given among other people groups, and it all started out with prayer and fasting and a vision.
A recent study found that regularly working overtime increases the risk of heart disease by 60%. Yet the typical American works 47 hours a week, 164 more hours per year than only 20 years ago. And 1/3 don't even take all their earned vacation days. And that doesn't even count additional work responsibilities at home or a second job. That's a fact. But there's hope. Research suggests that it is not the intensity of energy expenditure that produces burnout, but rather the duration of expenditure without recovery. God foresaw our dilemma and gave us the Sabbath, a weekly gift of physical, mental, and spiritual renewal in our demanding lives.
My daughter was sick and she had to go to the hospital, and I was still working outside of the home. So my job, they didn't trust me. They felt that I wanted to stay home so bad with my kids that I would lie, or I would, cheat their time in order to be home with my children. And when people don't trust you like that at a job, that just makes you feel like, why should I even be here? So again, I prayed and I asked God to just please help me out of this situation. Please, I know you know the answer. I don't know what else I could do.
Welcome back.
For this week's social media report, Angela Taipei shares how the Adventist Development and Relief Agency discussed its international efforts during last week's World Toilet Day.
On November 19th, the world celebrated World Toilet Day, a campaign to motivate and mobilize millions around the world on issues of sanitation. The 2015 theme highlighted toilets and nutrition. One of the Adventist Development and Relief Agency's impact areas is water, sanitation, and hygiene. ADRA International has been addressing those issues for over 30 years, seeking to impact the 780 million people around the world who still lack access to clean water. This year, ADRA International drew much needed attention to the issue on their Facebook and Twitter accounts. They shared interesting facts about the lack of sanitation around the world and highlighted a special project seeking solutions in Kenya. ADRA Kenya's Inclusive Innovation in Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene, also known as IWASH, is anchored on the principle of accessibility for all. IWASH latrine blocks go a step further than just providing sanitary conditions, but also have at least one accessible cubicle for those facing physical challenges. Also highlighted on Facebook was the Water, Sanitation, and Hygiene Project, implemented in Zimbabwe by ADRA Japan and ADRA Zimbabwe, which has enabled 1,700 students studying nearby to have access to safe water and latrines. The project has also given more than 7,000 villagers access to safe water. ADRA Canada also posted on their Facebook for World Toilet Day, reminding of the resulting spread of disease due to lack of proper sanitation. You may have missed World Toilet Day, but you can keep up with other global days and what ADRA is doing around the world by following ADRA International online at facebook.com/joinadra, on Twitter at ADRA INTL, and on Instagram at ADRA International.
And now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, learned about two early Adventist pioneers who began to build the church with their various talents at young ages.
This week in Adventist history, which in America is the week of Thanksgiving, we focus on two pioneer missionaries. On November 22, 1911, Floyd G. Ashbaugh, a coal porter from South Dakota, sailed from San Francisco for the Philippines aged just 21. He became the first Adventist to work in the Visayas, the central group of islands in the Philippines archipelago. Here you see him as he looked in 1915. This is actually his passport photo. He spent 7 years as a missionary in the Philippines, and his literature evangelistic work helped to lay the foundations for the church in the central Philippines, where today there are over 160,000 Seventh-day Adventists. Ashbaugh spent the rest of his career as a pastor and evangelist in the Pacific Union. Floyd Ashbaugh died in 1987 at the age of 96. On November 24, in 1851, Mary Sisley, known as Maud, was born in Tonbridge in England. But in 1863, the Sisley family emigrated to the United States, and there they almost immediately joined the newly organized Seventh-day Adventist Church. Maud began working for the Review and Herald at age 15, and then spent 13 years in publishing and evangelistic work, including 2 years as a missionary in Switzerland, until at age 28 she married Pastor Charles Boyd and served with him in the American West. In 1887, the Boyds went to South Africa as missionaries and subsequently trekked 1,500 miles by ox wagon into what is now Zimbabwe, where they founded Salusi Mission, today's Salusi University. Charles Boyd died of illness in 1898. Maud then worked 12 years as a missionary in Australia, teaching at Avondale College, and then 17 more years as a Bible worker in Southern California before, aged 82, she finally retired, going back to Australia, where she died in 1937, aged 85. Enthusiastic, committed men and women like Maud Sisley Boyd and Floyd Ashbaugh, who gave their lives to mission service and ministry, created the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church. This week I ask you to give thanks for so many lives of dedicated service, and to think about how you too can serve the mission of this church.
Thank you so much for watching ANN. Please join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And to our viewers in the United States, we pray that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday with friends and family and loved ones.
So be sure to join our global conversation on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can connect with Adventists worldwide through more stories, photos, and videos. Visit Facebook/Adventist News, Twitter @Adventist Church, and Instagram @Adventist Church.
And our good news for this week comes from the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 16, verse 34. That passage says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever."
Amen. That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.